In Tekken 8, whoever is in control of the neutral is the player who's winning. Everybody hates bad matchups in fighting games, but you have to learn to deal with them anyways. Every Friday, I do free coaching for my viewers on Twitch. Last week, my moderator Jakey asked me to play a first to 2. I counterpicked him to demonstrate a point, but what I didn't expect was a fantastic showcase of adaptation and how you can deal with bad matchups. Jakey, you gonna make me coach you again? We just did that. Because you all are expecting a Reina mirror, right? You know, 2 Reina players? Nah, we already had that today. That's not a good session. That's not a good lesson. That's just repeat information. We're gonna throw a counter pick at Jakey and see how he handles it. Nice. Okay, good shit. There's a lot to talk about here in this set, but this was a good example of adapting to a bad matchup and how you need to play around your character's weakness. Jakey made some very good adaptations here. At the beginning, a bit sloppy, but there's a lot to learn here, even though he won the set, and you know, we are coaching him. So, very bad matchup for Reina, because Alisa can exploit one of Reina's biggest weaknesses, which is tracking. If you move well against Reina, you shut down a lot of her options, a lot of her aggressive game plan falls apart, which we really see in game 1. So, Jakey, who's our Reina player for today, is of course very much aware of this. So you will notice them playing a lot more patient than they usually do, a lot more passive, you know, waiting for the right moments, because if he picks the wrong moment to approach, like when I'm sidestepping here, if he throws out a 4-4-2, he dies. I get a launch, he explodes. So it's being a lot more careful, picking his battles, because shit like that can happen. Usually it shouldn't sideswap, but close to the wall Tekken is always a bit janky. But that passiveness is what costs him the first game. Because if you remember earlier, the problem that we talked about with Sammy, only taking a low risk, low reward option, you just lose on damage over time that way. So you see Jakey only going for small pokes, trying to hit me in the first place. I run the same small poking game, the difference is my character is built around it. I'm used to the fact that I have to win neutral several more times than him. And my character is built for that because of the fear of chainsaws, of the momentum of heat, all the chip damage I can do. I have ways to come back from a life deficit. But if I keep winning the poking war, I never have to go into the life deficit. Once again, getting stabbed all day. It's just an issue of Reina that you have to work around. But we're gonna skip to the next game, because this is basically the main point that I wanted to make. Don't let bad matchups get into your head. You need to still approach them the same way you do any other game. You still need to be fighting for control. In Tekken 8, whoever is in control of the neutral is the player who's winning. The one who is just reacting to the opponent is losing. That's the biggest difference between old Tekken and new Tekken. In Tekken 7 specifically, which I will now call old Tekken, which will make people feel very weird, the winning decision was usually to be passive. To just backdash and let your opponent make a mistake. In Tekken 8, that's how you lose. In Tekken 8, you always need to be wrestling for control. You are the one who is setting the pace, you need to be the one who is running the mix-ups, you need to be the one who is pressing the good buttons. Because the other way around, you just get cooked. Now we will see Jakey slowly adapt to me slowing down the pace, because in the first game, I was in control of the neutral. I was using movement and pokes constantly to dictate the pace of the set. And you will see Jakey slowly increasing the match speed and forcing a different pace on me. Again, still passive, picking his battles, maybe a little bit too long. But specifically pay attention to the movement. Like, he's still backdashing, he's still going back a bit, but anytime he approaches, pay attention to any time he's about to throw out a button. He's always running in and pressing the button. Why is he doing that? If you move before pressing a button, you realign with the opponent. So what is realignment? Imagine Tekken, instead of a 2D fighter, imagine Tekken like the 3D space it really is. However, the default position is still two-dimensional. You're still in a straight line towards your opponent. You want to keep it that way as much as possible. And if you move forward, you basically push your opponent back onto that line. You force yourself back onto that straight line with the opponent, which helps moves that don't track to actually hit your opponent, even if they're sidestepping. You basically, if the opponent is sidestepping, they're stepping off the line that we think about in 2D fighting games. And you want to put yourself back on that line unless you have homing moves, because homing moves do not care about the line. But regular moves that only have tracking and not homing, they don't work if your opponent is dancing off of the line. I'll make a nice fucking paint diagram in a second for it. But yeah, even though Jakey is still falling for some pitfalls of Alisa, mainly just respecting chainsaws too much, also missing some punishes, you will notice that his aggression is becoming smarter. He's delaying the forward 2s. Look how the forward is coming out. Look at Jakey's inputs on the right side. You see how that second forward is out for 11 frames before he presses 2. That delay also helps put him back on the line with me. Which is why he catches me on the Z-axis and actually hits me and gets momentum back. Now, this is a very small detail and a very Reina-specific detail, but he gets Health Sweep into Heaven's Wrath. So, there's one problem with this mix-up. 7 characters in the game can completely avoid the entire mix-up by backdashing. So, no matter which Heaven's Wrath button he presses here, if I backdash, I am in a winning position. But, Jakey is a very advanced Reina player. Jakey knows this. So, what is he doing? He cancels Heaven's Wrath and resets back to neutral instead of putting himself in a disadvantageous position. This is a very smart matchup-specific adjustment. And this is a great difference between the lower level of Tekken, or like the mid-level, which I would say is like anything like below red rank is low level. At red rank, you're starting to get into the intermediate level. And when you get to around Bushin rank, around Tekken King, Tekken Emperor, that's when you get to the high level. And that's a very high level adjustment to make. And now notice he's still being passive, he's still being careful of when he presses buttons. But his pace is very slowly increasing. The gaps between doing nothing and making an offensive move, they're getting shorter with every round. And here. Look at this, he's not scared to run into my face to press a button, because he needs to do this. He knows I'm stepping all the time, he needs to stop that. And this is a great way to do it. And now pay attention to how he closes out this round. We're both low HP. The timer is running out. Now I am in a winning position. I have the life lead. However, Jakey has gray life available. And he knows, okay, he needs to do something before the timer runs out. Because what a lot of people will do in this situation is they will just wait until like there's like 2 seconds left, and then they will run in and throw it 50-50 and hope for the best. Jakey doesn't do that here. He takes his action a lot earlier. He's going for the Heaven's Wrath 4, stopping my movement, getting some chip damage in, and forcing a decision. And here, he's using chip damage to put me in a losing position. Now, the life lead is very uncertain at this point. We don't exactly know who's in the life lead. I think I am still like in the life lead by a pixel, but he's closing the gap without actually hitting me. And now he forced me to make a decision, because I'm like, I don't want to gamble on me having more HP. Now I want to make the offensive move. I want to close out this game. And he knows that. Intercepts. 4-4-2, perfect placement. Missed the confirm, but that doesn't matter. He hit me in the air. Whatever he did as a follow-up was guaranteed anyway. Great adjustment happening here. Once again cancelling Heaven's Wrath, this time going more aggressive, because he knows I will not try to interrupt him, because I noticed, oh okay, he's not going for the buttons, so backdashing will not work. I'm still defaulting to the backdash because, you know, maybe he presses a button, he chases me down, keeps the aggression going, keeps his turn. always moving forward, but still blocking. And that end hit is a good example of Tekken 8 quirk that I wanted to explain earlier. Wait, that was round 3. So here's a little weird specific thing about heat dashable moves in Tekken 8. Single hit moves that are heat engagers and therefore heat dashable moves get a tracking buff when heat is active. Usually, Heaven's Rev 2 is an extremely linear button that is very easy to sidestep, even at this frame disadvantage. I am -6 here, but under normal circumstances, I could still sidestep this because I am Alisa, Lily could do the same, Shaheen could maybe do it. The best sidestep characters in the game could escape the situation. However, Jakey is in heat here, which means his move gets tracking buff, and that is why Heaven's Rev 2 chases me down. This only applies to moves that you can heat dash while heat is active. This doesn't apply to heat engagers. This only applies to heat dashes. Is that the case regardless of range? Yes. For some reason, single hit heat dashable moves become homing when you are in heat, basically. The most obvious examples of that is try sidestepping Kazuya or Jin in heat against their forward 4-2s. It will not work. You can be on a different continent on the Z-axis, and that will track you down. Brian QCF1+2, another great example. Like, that move is almost impossible to sidestep to begin with, but it's even more impossible when he has heat. Absolute nightmare move. But yeah, keep watching the adjustment. Jakey's slowly getting more aggressive. Because the momentum changed from backdash, backdash, wait, attack. The momentum changed back to now, okay, pressure, back, wait, attack. And once again, backdash, wait, attack. It's always wait, attack instead of wait, backdash, attack. The rhythm changed. It's more aggressive. He's forcing a higher speed on me, which he's realizing I'm getting less comfortable with, because now I'm not controlling the tempo of neutral anymore. I'm not controlling the pace. He has now taken momentum of the entire set by changing the speed at which we have to play neutral. But yeah, now let's look at the final game, how he closes this out. Because I think in the final game it becomes most obvious that he changed his playstyle and made the adaptation. So, let's check out how Jakey adapts this. How does he win the set? Now, the main thing that changes, not only did he change his timing, he's also catching on to my timings. So now, fishing for counter hits. He knows I like to sidestep press, so after a sidestep, he throws out a counter hit button. Get that 4 counter hit. Free follow-up, free damage. Now he's in the life lead, he has the momentum. I interrupt him because I'm like, okay, I will not let you take full control of the set. Maybe try to steal some momentum back, get big damage in. Now I put him into position to do something again. And once again, catching onto my timing, I like to do sidestep, take an action, sidestep, take an action. He's catching that. Going for the setup, I know it, so it doesn't work. Sidestep punish on my end fails. But he's being so much more active while still adapting to me. He's not just running an offensive flowchart. He's adjusting to me. No throw break, though that throw is very difficult to break. It's a 50-50, you can't see the arms. And now that he realized he conditioned me to respect his Heaven's Wrath, he's pressing buttons again. Runs to the forward to 1, happens to the best of us, happens to literally pro players. I hit Safi Black with that all the time. Good punish. Now, doing the 2-1 here is a wrong punish and puts himself in a very risky position being at -14, but I don't get the real punish, that's fine. Gets hit with the chainsaw mix-up. In this situation, this mix-up is just real on Alisa. You just have to deal with that, because I got the knockdown. This is just a 50-50. Staying down technically is your best option, because getting up just puts you at risk of either getting hit by dual boot 1+2. Is it dual boot or single boot? I don't know the notation. Anyways, the spinny chainsaws that are mid, or the spinny chainsaws that are low. That's a 50-50. He guesses wrong, I get some damage. But he's still trying to control the neutral. He's dashing in and poking. He's not letting me just run my offense all day. Even when he's messing up, like I sidestep this jab, and I punish him for it. Even though he's messing up, he's not letting me be in control. We are both fighting for control. This is real tech. Now, using the wall position, he has the pressure on me. I can't escape to the left, which is the side that I want to be stepping in. I prioritize getting out of the corner. He tracks it. Uses a homing move to stop me from doing that. Sidestep 4. He's constantly in control of the neutral. I get one intercept and I make the most of it. Trying to put myself into a final hit position. And I guess correctly. Now, Jakey puts on a masterclass of comeback because he's down 2 rounds, but he makes all the adjustments necessary to win the next 3 in a row. Once again, careful poking, and his increased speed got me more careful now. Now I am afraid to run my offensive flowchart. Now I am scared to, you know, wrestle for that control, because I know he's catching onto my timing and that I need to change something. So I'm trying to play a little bit more aggressive, but he's stopping that. Now again, putting me against the wall, abusing that stage position. I have no good options here, I just have to eat the mix-up. I use the heat burst because at least I'm like, okay, I will be in a final hit situation. However, I will get out of the pressure at +2. Trying to get a sidestep, I was hoping he presses, he doesn't. I catch out the heat early, a mistake that I pointed out earlier that even I do. I should have sticked to my heat and just used chip damage to even out the game. I didn't. Catches me sidestepping. Only big mistake here is he could have finished the game with a 4-4-2 send reconfirm, but that's fine. Mistakes like that happen, though it costs him big time here. Good movement, because you can always use movement against movement players. With Alisa and Lily, as counterproductive as it sounds, moving against the best movement characters is a good option. Because not only does it help put you back in line with your opponent if you step with them, if you step against them, it makes it harder for them to hit you, to run the whole, you know, attack, sidestep, flowchart. Now this time I'm expecting a Heaven's Wrath too. Because that's what he did earlier when he entered Heaven's Wrath. He knows this, chases me down instead. Abuses the frame advantage, I'm at the wall, I have to guess. Again, tracking buff from heat dashable moves. I am in a different time zone on the Z-axis. And the move still hits me. Usually breathing on the sidestep button makes Heaven's Wrath 2 whiff, but because of the heat tracking buff, gets the full on. Now I don't love that combo here, but it was an awkward angle, so, you know, it's fine, it happened. I get an equally awkward angle which misses the wall splat. I was hoping for the wall explosion here. I could have gotten the wall explosion there, I was too scared to commit. The command is !coaching, as it says in the bottom right of the stream. Right, we got a pretty good queue going on. But yeah, this is the final round. Yeah, the main takeaway from the set is adjust to your opponent and don't be scared of bad matchups. Even if a matchup is bad, you can still adjust to it. And we see Jakey adjusting here perfectly. Of course, still minor mistakes going on, also cashing out on the heat early. He was probably hoping for a heat smash hit, because that would have caused a wall explosion and big time damage. I try to avoid the wall position. He runs in and tracks me down because he knows I'm playing for that position and he's abusing it. So just great adaptation work from Jakey. Very good set and very good example of how you can still adapt to a bad matchup and play around your character's weaknesses. A character weakness does not mean that your character cannot solve a problem. If you're truly dedicated to a character, you will be like 12 PSJ here and find solutions.